So I wanted to do a fun little video, or at least I hope it's going to be fun, and just a comparison video and kind of different knives. I'm kind of into Medfords right now, but I just wanted to prove that I certainly am an equal opportunity money waster, if you will. But of course, I enjoy knives, and if you don't get to see these knives together, you can always wonder how big they are, how small they are, and how they compare to each other. So I definitely wanted to just, make a fun little quick video. I'm not an expert or anything like that, but I'm going to read off some stats, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. We'll start off with the one here on the left. This one's probably the least likely of all the other ones. All the other ones are kind of overbuilt, tactical, if you will. But I have just picked this one up, and I got to be honest with you, it is fun as hell. So I just decided to include it. It's just kind of a really neat knife. It feels really nice. At least the frame does. The blade feels a little bit, especially when you mess around with Medfords, that blade feels pretty thin there. But as you can see, I mean, it's pretty fun. You can just flip it. It locks up well, no blade play. This particular knife here is a little bit off-centered, but I wasn't too worried about that since it's a Benchmade. I should probably tell you what it is. This is a Benchmade Anthem, and some stats about it. This is a $425 knife, which is a pretty common theme about all these knives, which is, again, why I decided to include it. It's 20 CV metal on the blade. Not sure exactly what that means, but a lot of people do ask. It's a 3.5-inch blade, and these stats I'm going to give you are from the manufacturer's website, so I didn't measure them myself. It's a 3.5-inch blade, 8.1 inches overall, and it weighs 3.66 ounces. You can take a look. It's an integral knife. It's pretty thin, and it is the lightest knife on the table here. And again, it's a Benchmade Anthem. Okay. The next one is a Chris Reeve knives. It's a Chris Reeve Umnumzaan, and let's see here. Let's get this open. I've actually had this one for years, but I've just never used it. So this one is still pretty new, and I haven't broken it in. I've seen other people, they can flick it pretty easy, but I can't do it. It's kind of a weird deployment. Those thumb studs are in there pretty good. Let me see if I can't do it on. Yeah, okay. But this knife is still pretty stiff. Anyway, this is also a $425 knife. These are all MSRPs. This is one of the longer blades. It is 3.7. It's actually the longest on the table, and the open length is 8.5 inches, and this weighs in at 5 ounces. The next knife you might recognize, it's a Strider. This is actually why I'm doing the video. I actually wanted to get a Strider for a long time, and I never did until after they announced they were discontinuing them. And having actually, for some reason, never held a Strider, I've been buying knives, and it's always one that I knew about. And I know there's two kinds of people in this world, one that really loves Strider, and then two, everyone that really hates Striders. But I just felt, since they were closing their doors, I just wanted to pick one up. I picked up one of the last ones that I found that were new. Hopefully they weren't charging me too much money for them, but it was a $420 knife. The model is the SNG, and this has kind of inspired me to do this video because I think this knife was too small. So I had no idea how small it was because I just assumed Striders, the way I saw them on videos, the way people described them, I thought they felt pretty big. But as you can see here, I'm comparing it to all the other knives. It's actually pretty much it feels like the smallest. It's actually, for some reason, this Benchmade feels a little bit bigger in the hand, even though the blade feels thin. But it feels pretty small to me. Anyway, so $420 knife. I know it can come in all sorts of blade materials, but this one happens to be CTS 40 CP. This one's a weird one. This one's a monkey edge one, so it's called a hybrid diamond. I guess a diamond grip, and I know they have the Lego, the CC, and again, that's the only Strider I own, so I really can't compare anything to it. All I know is, I know I'm gonna get flamed for this. It just feels cheap, it certainly, all the other knives here, I can definitely see $425 around there. This one didn't feel like that to me, but it's cool. It's kind of a little piece of history. It's kind of the first one, so I recognize Strider as a really neat design and kind of the first ones to kind of come out with this niche of the market. They kind of built the market. So I'm not knocking on it in any way, shape, or form, but I wouldn't carry it or use it. I mean, it has a lot of things that I think people improved later on the design. So one of them being it is a pain in the ass to close one-handed. I mean, I don't know. Can't even get my thumb in there. So kind of ergonomics are pretty bad, but I think it's a cool looking knife. 3.5-inch blade. Allegedly, it looks a little bit smaller than that, but that's what the website says. 8.2 inches total length and 4.5 ounces on this guy here. The next one here is a Hinderer, and I was actually pretty surprised. Same thing as the Strider. I'm like, I'm just going to buy a Hinderer because of all the hype. As far as, I try not to buy hype, but these things just crashed in price, and I picked this one up like just super cheap. So in fairness, I hate reviewing knives that I didn't buy new, but this thing was, pretty much brand new in the box, and I put my own edge on it, and so I kind of wanted to beat up on it. I just have a lot of knives, and it's a tad knife. I like tad knives, so when I saw it pop up, I'm just like, who cares? It's a few bucks, and it's quite a bit cheap. So it was like half of what they went for from TAD Gear, so I pretty much had to pick it up, and it was advertised on the forum as pretty much unused, same edge, never carried, stuff like that. So Hinderers must have really come down in price. I've been watching them forever, and I know 3 or 4 years ago these things would probably go for $1,000. And I'll be honest with you, from the way I feel it in hand, I don't like this blade. It just happened to be the blade that came on there. But this one does flip. This is a Gen 4. It flips just fine. The thumb studs are useless. I'll try to do it here. You're going to basically pick one of the two. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. You can't flick it with the thumb studs when you can flick it because the detent on it, as you probably already know that. But this one flips great. It's a great flipper. So I like flippers, so I'm really happy with the knife. I can definitely see why, back in the day, they feel better than the Striders. So before the market was flooded with all of the tactical knives that are out there, I can see why they went for $1,000. They're not worth $1,000, but I'm just saying, like, they definitely have a unique feel to them. You can customize them. Kind of a cool knife. Now, of course, I think the market's pretty saturated on them. So if you're looking for a user and you're looking for something that, this. I don't think anyone will tell you that. You might find people that'll say this knife is overhyped, which it definitely was, but no one's going to say it's a bad knife. It's a good knife. It's something that if you had to carry it in your backpack and it was the only knife you had for a camping trip, I mean, it's reliable. You have confidence in it. The design, I think, is actually kind of cool. This knife impressed me. I actually thought I would hate the Hinderer just because it looked cheap in pictures, in my opinion. But when you get it in real life, I feel like it actually looks a little bit nicer than at least my impression online was. And I was able to handle one at a local knife shop, so I already knew what they felt like. And when I saw it pop up on a secondary market used, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick up on that. The last one is probably the most, I don't know, I wouldn't say misunderstood knife that's out there, but it's the Medford. This is the Praetorian G. Now, Praetorian Genessis. I don't have the Praetorian Genessis G, so I only have two Praetorian Genessis. I do have a Praetorian G full size, but I think in fairness for size, I wanted to compare the Praetorian Genessis to all of the other knives. So, take a look here. It's 3.5-inch blade, even though it doesn't really look like it. It looks just about as big as all the other blades. It's 7.5-inch totally opened. So you can actually see that the handle length is a little bit smaller. So it looks like it's packing a ton of blade into the handle length. And not this knife, but the Praetorian Genessis G, and it's kind of complicated, but the Praetorian Genessis G, which means it has a G10 slab on it, weighs 6.4 ounces. So even if this thing had a G10 slab on it, it would certainly still be the heaviest knife on the table here. This particular one has a copper slab on it, so it's actually a little bit thicker, and it's just a little bit different. This thing weighs 9.5 ounces. But I like heavy knives, but this thing really isn't comparable. But picture it with the G10, and then from there you have a $600 knife. I think, you know, Medford does the D2 stuff. This one happens to be 3V, but I was just online looking at the stats, and it looks like they've upgraded all their steel to S35V, and it doesn't look like you can order the D2 from them anymore, at least for this particular model. So S35V blade, 6.4 ounces, and $600. So considerably more, probably about 50% more on this guy if it had the G10 slab. All right. So that's about it for the video. I hope it was entertaining. If there's any other knife that kind of is comparable to these in the same price range, feel free to let me know. I'm always looking for cool, fun things, new toys to pick up. And like I said, I am an equal opportunity money waster. And I hope you enjoy the video. All right, thanks. Bye.